Rich, Jeff, Ryan, Matt. Matt's in the seminary. Got to remember that. Michael and Michael, thank you to the affiliates for carrying the show. And as you can tell, I am back on the program, but still not completely back from this darn cold that's been hanging on. But Debbie, I couldn't stand being away from you and the show team and our listeners any longer.
I know. You kept asking me after the show, how'd it go? What? Tell me about the calls, first-time callers. It was so awesome. So, yeah, we're glad you're back. And, Jerry, your voice sounds fantastic. Ryan Penny just said, Jerry and his voice are back. Woohoo! They're pretty good. We're glad
I'm
you're
physically
back.
Here.
Well, Jerry, yesterday, let me recap. Yesterday we titled it kind of tongue in cheek, give it the new college try, talking about when we send our kids off to the college campuses and what happens to them, whether the good, the bad, or the ugly. And we had an amazing conversation yesterday. A lot of first-time callers. I had shared the kind of alarming statistic about what happens to kids, and it was that almost 80% of those who leave the Catholic faith do so by the age of 23. So definitely the college experience is having an impact, whether positive or negative. We had a lot of calls of folks like, in the same situation as me, where our kids went to college and kind of walked away from the faith. And then there's others that really prepared their kids and gave them the spiritual tools, and they presented scenarios for them that they may encounter, and their kids held on. And it's just beautiful. We had a great conversation. But, Jerry, a lot of people were left on the line at the end of the show. So you know what that means. That means we went to a part 2. So today is the part 2 of that, and we have some of our callers from yesterday that are calling back very quickly and getting to the head of the line because some waited 25 minutes to get on, and they had important things to say, and so we want to give them that platform.
Yeah, we sure do. Here's the phone number. It's 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986. You can also text the letters EWTN to 55000. Might be a small charge, but you can get through with your comments on text. And the video is streaming on Facebook and YouTube. You can make your comments there. You got the website, take2show.com. You can comment there. Or email us, take2@EWTN.com. There is absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be able to get hold of us if you want to today on this topic. But yeah, I'm glad you covered all that ground yesterday. And, it's wonderful to know that we have groups like Newman Centers, and we have, priests and religious presence on many campuses, Focus, Fellowship of Catholic University Students, and many other fine groups. But boy, oh boy, Debbie, I'll tell you, it can be difficult enough on some Catholic campuses for our young people to maintain their faith, let alone on some of these secular campuses. We don't even want to get into some of the stuff that goes on there, but you see the, just the godlessness and the real challenges to the faith right and left. And so, we want to hear from you parents. What's been your experience? What was your own personal experience? Mm-hmm. Maybe you're a 25-year-old, 30-year-old, and you've been out of school for a few years. How did it go for you holding on to your faith? 833-288-3986.
Definitely a battleground. Jerry, you would have been so pleased. Christina had called in yesterday and gave a nice plug for Franciscan U. So you would have been like, yeah, that's my school. Right, Jerry? Yeah. You had a great experience there.
I did, absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. We had just wonderful calls yesterday, and we're looking forward to your call today about the college experience. It definitely is the battlefield, the newest battlefield for our children's souls, and it's really. I tell you what, we've got to be prepared, folks, and I think we have to start as low as young as elementary school, okay? Because things are just moving down lower and lower, and letting kids see things earlier and earlier, and so we have to be prepared for this. So if you have something to say about this, please call in. Don't wait till the end of the show. We're not going to have a part 3 at 1-833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986.
Yeah, things have changed so much, and we'd love to hear your experience, no matter what it was, and how things have changed, say, between, going to college in the 1970s or 80s or 50s maybe, compared to what it is today, because, we mentioned many of the challenges, Debbie, and sometimes, we see somebody who's quote-unquote conservative, and they're invited to speak at a certain college or university campus, and then there's rioting and fires, and, and then pretty soon they rescind the invitation just so that nobody gets hurt or killed or anything like that. But, we get this whole this whole idea of academic freedom and freedom of speech and even freedom of religion to practice your faith and all of this, and yet it just seems like, and not as in many other environments on college and university campuses, it's the Christians and in particular the Catholics who are really not allowed to do that, if they really want to. So,
Well, but Jerry, I've got to give kudos to our president for trying to protect that conservative free speech on the college campuses, and I think it's very necessary. And I'm so glad that his administration did something about it because, it's dangerous. It's absolutely dangerous. I mean, these kids, they have the right to express what they feel and what they believe in, and to have somebody attack them or punch them or beat them up that cannot happen. Not in the United States of America. I mean, we really have to protect that. And I'm so glad that our president did something about it. And Jerry, yeah, this is a tough subject, and I think it's a worthy one because a lot of folks, we're in prom season right now, and the end of the school year is coming up, and people are going to go on their summer vacations and then pack up their kids and send them off to college. And some people are going to be like, well, we did the best we could. Honey, call us if you need anything. Go get them. Go out there and see what the world's all about. But I really believe, Jerry, we've got to have those necessary conversations at home well in advance. Before they head off to those schools, because it's dangerous, and whether it's Catholic or not at this point, Jerry, that's what I believe anyway. That's
very true. That's very true. And yeah, like you said, we have to have those conversations long before you're driving them to campus to drop them off.
Right.
It can't be a 30-minute 45-minute, 1 hour conversation. It's got to be a lifetime of formation. So maybe you've got young children right now. Love to hear from you. If you've got kids who are, grade school, junior high, and how are you forming them? How are you preparing them morally and spiritually and ethically and in prayer life and so forth to be ready to face the challenges out there? Because let's face it, Debbie, it's still getting an advanced degree, at least a bachelor's, is still the way to go. I mean, you're going to be way ahead of your peers right now. So if parents care about their kids, they're going to care that they get a good, solid education. And that comes with some risks on some campuses. There are many, many great schools. A lot of good stuff going on out there. It's just the landmines we got to watch out for. 833-288-3986. I'm Jerry Usher with Debbie Georgianni. I am trying to be all the way back 100%. My voice isn't quite there, but I think the rest of me is here, except maybe my mind. We'll be right back.
We're so glad you've joined us. This is the part 2 of Giving It the New College Try, talking about what's happening on college campuses. Just to highlight, and by the way, this is your show, Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie, both of us together. That's pretty cool because Jerry's back and his voice sounds great. I know he doesn't think so, but it does. It sounds fabulous. Okay, real quickly, highlight Catholic Connection with Teresa Tomeo. You'll get hooked, just like the rest of us are. Tomorrow mornings, 9 9 a.m. Eastern time. So if you haven't, I don't know, I'm sure you have to have heard Catholic Connection, but if you haven't, or you haven't made it a regular part of your day, please do so. Catholic Connection with Teresa Tomeo. She's a good friend and she's wonderful at what she does, and she wants us all to get to heaven. That is her goal, and I love that about Teresa. Okay, Jerry. We have an open phone line. We never have a shortage of calls, which is so great with our Take Two listeners, but we do have an open phone line. So if you have something to say, your own personal experience, we actually had a wonderful lady call in about her experience in the 70s on college campuses, how her teacher was trying to weave, atheism into a creative writing class, Jerry. And this is in the 1970s.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was a very interesting conversation. So I would love for you to hear what you have to say, your experience or your children's experiences. We'd love to hear from you. 833-288-3986.
Okay, and Debbie, correct me if I'm wrong. We have a caller who didn't get on the air yesterday, but did call in and waited a while, and we couldn't get to her. Is that right?
Yes, and Andrea is up first, and Andrea is with us on the part 2 of Giving It the New College Try. Andrea, thank you so much. Sorry about yesterday, but we're so glad we got you on today, and you're listening on Sirius XM 130, so welcome to Take Two.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I didn't get to listen to the majority of the dialogue yesterday, so I'm not sure if I'm going to add anything new, but the topic does speak to my heart because I'm a college professor at a Catholic university.
Okay. And how's that? I mean, tell us about like a little bit of the atmosphere and what you're seeing from your perspective.
Well, before I do, let me add that I'm a developmental psychologist. So one of the things I want to alert parents to is the naivete that maybe this won't happen to your child. But developmentally, they will question their faith. It just has to do with their neurological and cognitive development that makes hypothetical thinking possible. So there's going to be a lot of what-if questions, including questions such as, what if God isn't real, And it happens, in fact, developmentalists would argue that one's ability to question is what forwards the actual cementing of their identity, that you can't, without questioning, you can't fully understand what you believe. And so the process will happen. The process of doubt will happen. And so I just want to alert parents who think, no, not my kid. And I've thought the same thing with my 12-year-old. He's very devout, and yet my expertise reminds me he too will challenge the faith. And then that's what I have to prepare for.
Okay, so Andrea, you mentioned that you're a professor at a Catholic university, and you said that this topic of the challenges that arise for young people who go off to college, and many of them losing their faith, you said that it spoke to your heart. Okay, so what would you say it said to your heart, at least from your own personal experience? We don't want to know where you teach or anything, but just what did that say to your heart? Why were you so interested in making a comment on this topic?
Well, I think that parents just need to understand that their adolescents are developmentally vulnerable and just proceed from there. The second thing I'd want to point out is I actually think the spiritual battle may be a bit more difficult at Catholic universities. And the reason I say that is because I've contrasted it with my own experience, and I didn't attend a Catholic university, either undergrad or graduate. I contrast it to the fervor that sometimes the groups like Focus or Newman Center or even just any Catholic group can have on a secular campus unabashed. I'll give you an example. The Duke Catholic Center, one of the things they do that I cannot fathom doing at my own Catholic university is during finals, when students' anxiety is great, their anxiety is, higher than ever, they go to the library, and on the hour, they remind students that puppies and Play-Doh, other things will not give them true peace, that we know the true source of peace. So they invite students in the library to pray with them. That is an effort by the Duke Catholic Center to do so. That I cannot imagine occurring on my campus, and my campus is Catholic. So why? Why isn't it occurring? And I think the reason, and I'm only speculating, is because when you're in part of the majority group on campus, there's a heightened sensitivity to offending others and excluding them. And they're operating in a secular campus from a minority position. And so they're just one of many, perhaps, religious groups. So they can have the fervor and not offend. But at a Catholic university, I think lots of things are not done overtly in aid of students' faith development because of the perception that it might offend people of maybe a different faith background.
Right. Right, and that always raises the obvious question, well, didn't these students know they were going to a Catholic university? And I guess maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't if they had maybe visited and learned some things about the school, and maybe it didn't have an overt Catholic identity. I can just speak a little bit, and Debbie, I'll let you jump in here in a minute. I don't want to hog this, but Andrea, as you're talking, it reminds me of personal experiences I've had. Actually, I went to Franciscan University of Steubenville, and I know that got a great shout out yesterday, and it is still to this day one of the finest Catholic institutions of higher learning that I'm at all aware of. But I went to 2 seminaries, so I'm gonna one up you, Andrea, here, and everybody else. I was in 2 seminaries, and I won't mention the one, but one of them had it seemed to give very preferential treatment to the homosexual men. There was a lot of lay people that studied on campus. One of them was an avowed witch. She had Wiccan bumper stickers all over her car, and if any of us said anything about any of this, then we were the ones who got in trouble. So there was not only this concern that there might be, we don't want to offend, but there was almost a favoritism shown. Now, again, this is 25 years ago. I don't want to alarm anybody because our seminaries, including this one, have really cleaned up their act. But I just can say this from personal experience. But Debbie, I want you to jump into the conversation. I don't want to exclude you here. So.
Well, Jerry, you shared, from your personal experience on at the seminaries and stuff. But Andrea, I just want to say, I find it very odd that we cave as Catholics, and I find that we do it very easily across the board. I went to a Christian non-denominational conference one time, and they didn't make any, concessions or anything. They had their agenda, what they wanted to cover, and those of us that were a different religion, well, we had to abide by that if we wanted to go to the conference. I don't understand why we're seeing it on a very frequent basis, where the Catholic schools tend to be very hypersensitive when it comes to people of other faiths that enter into the institution. And I agree with Jerry. I mean, don't you know what you're signing up for? I mean, it's a Catholic university. Aren't there certain what do they call it, Jerry? The mandatums or the faith statements or things that that lay out the principles of what that organization stands for. Andrea, can you speak a little bit about that? I mean, why do you think we're going to this extreme?
Well, I think I can partially answer the question. When you talk about a faith statement, there are mission statements that are shared, but at many Catholic universities, their faculty do not sign faith statements. So I was applying back, in the day when I was applying for jobs. I remember 2 Christian universities telling me that I would have to sign a faith statement.
Right.
The 2 Catholic universities that I've worked at do not require such a faith statement. So they're equal opportunity employers, and I don't know the law, but I imagine it has to do with receiving federal dollars, whether it be financial aid or grant money, but we're not allowed to ask applicants about their faith. So think about who's going to apply. It might be people like me who feel very comfortable at a Catholic university, but it might be other people who are indifferent. It actually might be other people with more nefarious ideas, such as the ones that Jerry was talking about at the seminary.
Yeah.
So if you actually look, one piece of information parents might look at is the percent of faculty who are active Catholics. I don't even know if the
that are in full
university
communion. Yeah. Oh, got it. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean, that might be a piece of information. I think another, so if the percentage is low, it doesn't matter how overt campus ministry becomes, because where are those hours on campus spent? What are those books being read? What's the literature being presented? What are the papers being written? Mm-hmm. Those many, many hours cannot compensate for a Tuesday night dinner with your faith community or a Wednesday morning mass. The battle is relentless in the classroom. And you can look, parents can also look at the course catalog and see if it's balanced. Sometimes I wonder if it is, and I wonder what the percentage of Catholic faculty are at these campuses.
Andrea, so let me just, for a parent that is getting ready to send their child or starting to look into schools or researching schools, okay, so they should look at the percentage of the faculty that is in full communion with the Catholic Church, is teaching the tenets of the faith, and just because they're sending them to a Catholic university or a Catholic school doesn't mean that's going to be safe, because look at the course catalog, do the research. So if I have it correctly, parents really need to do the background kind of history and search of how that school is functioning before they send their child off there. Just because it says Catholic doesn't mean it's going to be safe. Is that correct to say, possibly?
True. And I would probably add a couple things. One, remember that groups like Newman Center or Focus don't operate on Catholic campuses because they have their own campus ministry. Right. And I've been told by a student that, the university is as Catholic as you want it to be, which also means it's as non-Catholic as you want it to be. And I think I would add that parents not only gather information about the percent of faculty who are practicing Catholics in communion with the church, and look at the course catalog. And it's okay, I'm an advocate of, open dialogue. But if the course catalog suggests that there's an imbalance, that might be prepare your students for a greater battle. And I would also say that the students will not actively run into people asking them to pray at final exams, that this parent needs to tell the child that they're going to have to take a more active role, that there might be a vibrant faith community at those Catholic universities, but they might be more silenced than you would actually expect. And the child, the adolescent, needs to seek out members of that faith community and all the events and ministries that are very active but might be less obvious to them than they would expect. They're expecting that I think parents are expecting that they can, one, give their child such great faith formation that they won't go through this faith identity crisis. That's not going to happen. Two, they think that they can sort of guarantee the outcome by sending them to a Catholic university. And so it's kind of like, well, my child won't really be facing a battle. Right. No, prepare them for the same battle.
Mm-hmm. And Andrew, you're speaking from experience. You're a professor, you're a psychologist.
I'll add something just the opposite of that, too, Andrea. I remember when I was at Franciscan University, there were a lot of parents who themselves are very, very devout Catholics, maybe had lost their faith for a while and come back. They were raising their kids. Their kids didn't quite turn out to be as fervent as they wanted, so they felt like, well, if I just send my kids to Franciscan University or Benedictine College or, the University of Mary in North Dakota or something, that's going to fix them, and that's going to take care of it. But that doesn't. So dear listeners, your work has to be done foundationally from the time they're in the womb, really. And as Andrea is saying, those challenges are going to come up anyway. So they should be really, really covered in prayer by you as parents, and maybe even get some of your friends and family members, a convent of sisters, to pray for your kids who are going off to college.
That's right.
Debbie, I know you wanted to add something.
No, I just wanted to say, Andrea, thank you so much for weighing in on this. Thank you for being a professor. Thank you for caring so much about our children. Thank you for sharing, from you being a trained psychologist, what we can expect just at this age group. And I don't know if you listen to the show very often because you sound like you're a very busy professor, but I always say that I believe that teachers and nurses are going to get a special place in heaven, and I extend that to you. I just pray that for you because you care about our children, and it very much shows. So thank you so much for all the work you're doing. Keep it up. You're very, very much needed. And Jerry wanted to share real quickly some other things too.
Yeah, well, I join in the gratitude to you, Andrea. Thank you for spending so much time with us, and blessings upon your work. And I wanted to point out a work that Andrea is probably well acquainted with. It's the Newman Guide to Choosing a Catholic College. The Newman Guide to Choosing a Catholic College. I think the gentleman's name is Patrick Riley, who has authored that. But it's just a guide to, it really talks about all the Catholic universities and colleges and kind of grades them and tells you what to look for, what to expect. It's called the Newman Guide to Choosing a Catholic College. You'll find that online.
We felt it was so important, so we're continuing the conversation about the college campuses so we can prepare our families, the Take-Two families, when they send their kids off to college, or your own experience as well. So if you have something to say about this, about what's happening on secular campuses, college campuses, we heard from Andrea. She gave us some just amazing advice, and from her expertise in the field of psychology, and also as a professor. I mean, I think it was just great for all parents to hear what Andrea had to say. And now we want to hear from you. So thank you again, Andrea. God bless you again for all the work that you're doing to shape the young minds of the future. 1-833-288-3986. Yes, Jerry.
I was just going to say we're giving out virtual patience awards to everybody else who calls in today. So Jack and Sonia and Jennifer, you're all going to get one. Jack, you were in first. Thanks for waiting. You waited quite a while there, Jack. I hope you didn't mind, but we wanted to get your comments. In Everett, Washington, listening on Sirius XM 130. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Oh, well, thank you. I wanted to discuss my college experience. It was shortly after college, why I left the faith.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
can
please.
you share with us?
Yeah. I went to Catholic school my whole life, grammar school, high school, actually two different high schools because I had moved and transferred. They were all Catholic. And then I did go to a Catholic college. It was St. John's in the Jamaica, Queens, New York. Finished up there, and I guess about a year and a half, or maybe just a year after that, I disregarded the whole religion, left the religion. Actually was really angry about it when I was making that decision. But over the years since that, I sort of let it go and forgave. I just felt that the Catholicism is a very damaging religion. It's a very guilt-driven religion. Jerry was talking about before, gearing them up while they're still in the womb. I find that very offensive. I think, people should come to the religion on their own accord. People are very aware and capable of making their own decisions, and that's how I feel on that specific topic.
Wow, Debbie, I know you had something, Deb. I can comment on a couple of things,
Yes,
but
no,
you
please
go
do.
first, Deb.
No, because Jack addressed what you were saying.
Well, yeah, Jack, and I think, what I meant by that is I think anybody would understand. I mean, if you are a man or a woman, you're a parent who believes, very, very strongly, passionately, you're convicted about something, you're going to want to impart that to your kids. And something as important as religion and, if it's a true religion, if it's not the true religion, if you believe it is, the religion or a religion that's going to get you to heaven to eternal salvation, I can't imagine it would be dereliction on the part of a parent not to try and impart that. And by in the womb, I simply meant we believe, studies have shown that kids in the womb, babies in the womb, are able to hear things, the touch of a hand on the mother's stomach, on the womb, maybe prayers and songs that are sung and so forth. So I issue no apology, Jack, for saying that for any Catholic parents who are that convicted that they believe that their faith is right, to really begin at the very earliest age imparting that to their kids. But Debbie, go ahead if you had something.
No, Jack, I wanted to ask you if you're okay sharing this. Did you have too much Catholic instruction? Was it too much Catholic school, and was it overwhelming, and you just felt as though, I'm just going to let it go because I don't really feel an attachment to it? Sometimes it can be, it could. Was it, Jack?
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Yes.
Okay, it was, and it could be an education thing because obviously they're not teaching you religion on every single course. But as you get older and you become more confident in thinking for yourself, and this is what I want to explain to Jerry really quick, it's something as important as religion is. It may be that you're a young adult before you decide what you want to believe in. And I have no objections with anyone belonging to any religion, but I think it's a personal decision and not something that you just learn from your parents. This kind of connects into the whole idea of original sin, that our religionists have the gall to say, we're in constant perpetual sin. No matter how much of an exemplary life that anyone would live, they're still sinful. And I just don't believe that. That's the core of the Catholic faith, of course, the Jesus crucifixion. I just think we have the idea of God wrong. God does not talk to us. He does, you can say that he talks to your heart. I don't believe that. I'm not saying he's not real. I'm just saying he stopped communicating with man a long time ago. And he does not talk to the Pope either. We had two different popes, and if he knew that the Pope that we had before, Pope Francis, was going to not make it and leave, he wouldn't have spoke to his heart and asked him to become the Pope. So, I mean, what I'm saying is that I can think for myself. Catholicism asks you not to do that, to take their word for everything, and it kind of just makes people mindless sheep. I think for me, that's what it feels like. For someone else, if it gives you peace and comfort, I mean, that's all good, but I just can't abide by the tenets of the religion because I just think it's we have God all wrong. He's not like that at all. He's something that is incomprehensible.
You first, Jer.
Yeah, Jack, thank you for you really are, articulate, and you've thought this through a lot. There's no doubt. I just want to issue an analogy here, and it's maybe not, maybe may limp a little bit, as many analogies do. But let's just imagine, say, Jack, if you were a parent, I don't know if you are or not, but if you have kids, if I had kids, I've never been married, but if I had kids, I would teach them that, for example, stealing is wrong, or committing murder is wrong. I wouldn't say, well, I'm not going to teach you this. I'm going to let you wait till you get to be 18 or 20, to think for yourself, make your own decisions. So you're not, by that point, they have had all kinds of other influences in their lives, especially other kids who might think that stealing is just fine, that beating up on your friends is fine, bullying others is fine. And by that point, they have formed their opinions, and they have been lost in terms of any sense of maybe bringing them back. So does that analogy even come close, Jack, to what we're talking about here? Why
yes,
a Catholic parent would...
you want to... Yes, but to me, that's more of a societal, I guess what you would say is a morality thing. Very, very slightly, I just can't think of another word for it. But yes, I would do similar things that you've described.
Okay.
Jack, Jack, you're one of the reasons why we are going to be launching in June on our 4th anniversary the after show, where we can continue the conversations and just really get to know one another and see where we're at in our faith. But
I would like that a lot.
Yeah, I know. So prior to that, so what you need to do is email us so we can get you on the email so then we can keep you abreast of when it kicks off in June on our 4th anniversary. But our email is take2 at EWTN.com, because exactly this, we want to journey together. Jack, if I may say this, because you called in, and I don't believe in any accidents. I don't. I just have to say this, and I hope I say this with the utmost respect. I think you're so smart and so intellectual that you're actually stuck in your head. And what I mean by that, remember, Jack, I'm a life skills coach. Okay, you're stuck in your head, and where our faith comes from and deepens is in a relationship with God. Let's not even talk about Catholicism. Let's not even talk about Christianity. Let's just talk about our relationship with God. I would love to talk more with you on this, because where you're at, Jack, is amazing. Because once you tap in to the relationship, and you're right, Jack, it's your relationship with God. Nobody can give that to you. Nobody can say, hey, this is what you got to have. It's your relationship, Jack. Once you tap into whatever type of relationship you're going to have with God, I want to be there to be talking to you about it, to see what unfolds, because it's pretty amazing. But I think you're in a very interesting and actually a very beneficial position right now, because you're talking about it and you're expressing it. And I would feel so honored to keep the conversation going. Would you be willing to do that?
I would absolutely love that, and I hope you really are serious. I will write the take two at EWTN.com.
Right, it's take
two. Okay, yes,
two.
I will enter that email address, and I really do appreciate what you just said, and I really would like to continue it. And I also would like to apologize to any of the listeners that may have been offended of anything I said. I'm just keeping this about my own
not at all,
personal
Jack.
thought system behind it, and I'm not saying that it's true for everyone. I mean, everyone has their different story, but right. I actually need to run right now, but I will send that information to you, and we'll talk later.
Absolutely.
Jack,
Thank you,
you're a true gentleman, and we look forward to furthering whatever conversation might develop in the future. Thank you, Jack. Wow, Debbie, this is another way that shows God is moving. I mean, Jack is a first-time caller listening on Sirius XM 130. Yeah. And so, for everybody else, you're going to share in the Patience Award today. So isn't that great?
Yeah. And also, too, you can always email us, folks. We'd love to get you on the email list, because when we launch this in June, we want to keep the conversations going. We want to journey together. So take 2 at EWTN.com. Please don't forget that, and tell your friends about it as well. Sonia is up next in Cloverdale, California, listening on Alexa. First-time caller, also getting our virtual Patience Award. Sonia, we don't know what you're going to do with it, but it's yours.
Am I
Hello.
on?
Hello,
Hi,
Sonia.
Hello? Hi. Yeah, I called in, and because I am, well, first off, to Jack, I'm a convert to Catholicism. I went through the RCIA program years ago, and as an adult, obviously, and I just, you know, I guess his perspective, my perspective, I was raised very secularly. My parents are atheists. And so for me, you know, I got into the church because of the history. I got sucked in because of the history, and then actually because the Catholic Church sort of founded the university system in Europe. I mean, when you look at the history, you look at some of the great thinkers, it sucked me in from an intellectual basis, and then it went, you know, more profoundly into my heart. But that being said, I called because I have a college-age son. He's in his second year. My other younger son is an 11th grader. I homeschooled both of them, the one all the way through to 12th grade. This one, the 11th grader, wanted to do public school, so I'm letting him do 11th grade and 12th grade, but I'm also a confirmation teacher. And I just wanted to say, to your point about starting those conversations when the children are little, even in the womb, crucially important, because a lot of the parents that put their kids in the confirmation class, you know, go to Sunday Mass, say their rosaries, say grace before meals, but the kids are spending the bulk of their time in a school system, and this is California again, where you're an idiot if you believe in God. You know, you might as well say you believe in fairies and Tinkerbell. I have had to explain to my 12, 13-year-olds in my confirmation class why abortion is not okay, why gay marriage is not okay, why sex outside of marriage is not okay. They are inundated with a culture that is so, well, counterculture to Catholicism that really it's not enough to take your kids to church and say a rosary. You have to talk to them all the time about what's being said in class and give them a different point of view. And I think, most importantly, help teach them critical thinking skills, because that's incredibly important, because they have to be able to see where, you know, they have to be able to, if they're not going to say it in class, because not every, you know, seventh grader is that brave, but they should be able to think in their mind, but wait a minute, what about this, you know? So we have to have those conversations, I think, about creation and about God-inspired evolution and how God uses the natural world to accomplish, you know, his works, and well, how he created the natural world. But you know what I'm saying? That's incredibly important, because they're going to be inundated with, well, in my experience, with teachings that are just completely against everything the church teaches.
Sonia, you have said some beautiful things. Let me just jump in while my mind is thinking about this. First of all, I would say I would here's how I would phrase what you just said. Parents, you have to go to school with your children, okay? Whatever books they bring home, you go through them with them.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, you know, line by line, but you need to be inside their heads, inside their backpacks, what is in their backpacks. You have to be in their classrooms, finding out what they're being taught. Fortunately, there are still a lot of good Catholic and other, you know, Christian schools and others that, you know, you don't have those worries for. But the other thing, Sonia, you mentioned critical thinking. There's something that we need to teach our kids to do, and this is going to sound awful to a lot of people's ears. We need to teach them to discriminate. Our students need to be able to discriminate, not against blacks, not against gays. They need to. Discrimination simply means, by definition, to determine, you know, between things, you know, and critical thinking is what accomplishes that. They're being dumbed down, and they have no discriminating abilities. You know, discriminating, you know, between should I drink turpentine or should I drink orange juice? You know, I mean. That requires critical thinking, and you're discriminating against one thing in you know, choosing another thing, but obviously not in the areas of, you know, the immoral things, but just in certain things of life.
Yeah. Well, and to be watchful and to know, you know, parents need to know the church history, so we can address the Crusades, so we can address the Inquisition, so we can address medieval church history, because, for instance, I homeschooled, as I said. So I would go into these curriculum stores that provided, curriculum for the public schools. And I remember I picked up one, and it was on history. And I was flipping through it, and it was just a little, teaching guide thing. And I was flipping through. I was always looking for supplements, I had a very good curriculum, by the way, Colby Academy. Shout out to them. They are amazing. But that being said, I was always looking for, little supplements, coloring books, things, when they were little. Well, one of the things I found was probably for 6th grade, it was about history. And they had a thing on the Catholic Church, and they talked about all of the control, quote-unquote control, that the Catholic Church had over the people. But when you read it, it wasn't that bad, what they wrote. But the image next to it was a puppet, and the puppeteer, the puppeteer string, the little thing they hold in their hands, is a cross. And so they had this puppet attached to a cross.
Right, so that was the image.
The spires of the Catholic Church behind it. And, so it's subtle.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
That's not that subtle, but a lot of the stuff is. And so way before college, and I do have to say also, I think it's the Protestants that say this. God has no grandchildren. And so we have to realize that our children's faith will be their own. And as a parent, I did everything I could to counterbalance our culture, to instill our beliefs, our values. But at some point, my kid, so my now college student, is going to go out into the world on his own. And he has to make those decisions for himself. So he has his own faith, a faith that is profound. And I think it was St. Augustine that said a faith unquestioned is no faith at all. So
Sonia,
the critical thinking skills.
Right. Absolutely. Sonia, you did a great job. I have to tell you, you were fabulous. I'm so glad you were a first-time caller and you jumped in on this discussion. We appreciate it so very much. I think you said you're a confirmation teacher, if I got that correct.
I am, and that's what's so horrifying. Yeah.
Right. Well, do me a favor if you can. Go to our website, take2show.com. I posted the quote from St. Vincent Ferrer, from a great saint who talked about confirmation and the need for confirmation, what's going to happen in the end times. You'll see the quote there. You may want to use it in your classroom. But Sonia, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I actually heard it from Father Doug Brown from Cleveland, Ohio, on the Rock. So he's passing it on to all of us. So that's wonderful. But I never even heard of this saint, St. Vincent Ferrer. But now I'm like, he's one of my new favorite saints. So Sonia, Thank you for all the work you're doing in religious education.
Amen, Sonia. Thank you so much. I want to get to social media for a minute. Email. Janet says, hey, University of Dallas, true Catholic education, inspiring intellectual thought to each individual. Thank you, Janet. We do know about them, Janet. Father Mitch Pacwa, I believe, used to teach there. He's now at EWTN. Maureen says, glad to see you back, Jerry, on YouTube. Thank you, Maureen. It's good to be back. John says on YouTube, I've always wondered who appoints the board of trustees, who chooses the president. If the trustees are secular and choose a secular president, the professors and the curriculum follows. If secular people perform a silent coup on the board of trustees, will not the Catholic identity follow? So Debbie, John's getting at the very top. Who are the trustees? Who's the president? Well, where does the buck stop, really? And I think he's got a good point.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, so we could do a part 3, but this is the reason. You guys are the reason why we're going to be doing an after show in June. So this is when we can really take it to a deeper level. So sorry about that. We're not going to be able to obviously get to everybody, but we're going to try to get to Jennifer real quickly in San Antonio, Texas on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Jennifer. Welcome.
Hi. I just wanted to say you brought up the word relationship was what I was calling about. Was until you've mentioned it, I haven't heard from anybody else from yesterday or today. We need to foster a relationship with everybody between parents and their kids. If we do that, and relationship with Christ and their kids, then when they go off to college, when they go off to school, then there should be no worry, because whatever they pick up from these colleges, there should be no concern about straying, because they already have that foundation in Christ. they will know where they stand with the Lord because they will have that schooling with that relationship with Christ. They will build that up with Christ before they go to school, and therefore they will stand firm in that relationship with Christ, and there should be no concern because what they build at home, they will take, and whatever liberal or concerns that the parents may have, going, oh no, this is what they're going to be fed, then they can be rest assured that they will have a solid foundation and know that the Lord is going to take care of them, and they can rest at peace in their mind and their soul. And that's basically what I wanted to say.
Well, Jennifer, you know what? I have to jump in real quickly. Jerry, forgive me. When we talk about what we're created to know, love, and serve God. That's a very holistic approach, mind, body, spirit. Think about it for a moment. You have to know, you have to learn about something in order to deepen your relationship, to love something. You can't really love something if you don't know about it. And if I just said to you, here, try this, you're going to love it. You don't know unless you try it, right? So you have to know about it, try it, fall into a relationship. Then you're able to live out, you're able to serve, you're able to live out your mission because you have the relationship. It's a very holistic approach I believe anyway, in our Catholic faith. Jennifer, I think you nailed it with what you just shared, and it's a wake-up call for all of us. And real quickly, I just may add, Jerry, we're getting a lot of comments about Jack's comments about letting your kids choose when they get older. It's just been shown, just want to say this, that if you let your kids choose, especially if two parents are not the same religion, one's Catholic and somebody else is like Episcopalian or something, if you let your kids choose, they will choose nothing. That's what the statistics are showing. So I just have to say that because I know we're getting a lot of comments that people are saying, please address that. So Jennifer, thank you so much for your call. And I wanted to try to sum it all up, Jerry, before the clock runs out.
Yeah, Jennifer, thanks. Leslie and Therese and the others, we're just not going to have time. But again, we'll be telling you more about the after show coming up that we're going to start after the 4th anniversary of the show. But I think it really does boil down to relationship, Debbie, like Jennifer said, and you had pointed out earlier on the show. If we introduce our sons and daughters to Jesus at the earliest age and they start to develop that relationship, what does Archbishop Fulton Sheen say? 3 to get married. Mm-hmm. It's the bride, the groom, and Jesus. Well, we should look at our children and say each one of them is like 2 people because we want them to be united with Jesus in such a way that we're sending, when we send off Johnny to go to college, we're sending Johnny and Jesus off to go to college,
Mm-hmm.
and we're sending Nadine off to go to college and their guardian
right.
angel. We're sending Jesus and Nadine off to go to college,
That's right.
And then we can have that confidence that Jennifer was talking about.
Absolutely.
By the way, I've posted on the Take2Show.com website a link to Patrick Riley's book. It's the Newman Guide to Choosing a Catholic College. So if people are interested in that, they can go to Take2Show.com and find that link there.
We are so sorry, you guys. We did a part 2 because this is what, to try to address everybody. We still couldn't get to everybody. This is a very hot topic. We will revisit it before the fall, before you send your kids off to school. So please know that and keep us... keep it in prayer. We really want to launch this after show. In order to do that, too, you've got to like us on Facebook, Jerry and Debbie Facebook. Find us on Jerry and Debbie Facebook. Like us. We're trying to get to 5,000 likes so we can have a very wide audience for the after show, so we can get into a rich, deep discussion about our faith and develop our relationship together. I think it would be great, Jerry.
Yeah, let's pray to God that it will be. Tomorrow's program is Eulogize Me. How would you like to be remembered? We're all going to die sometime. This isn't a bragging thing or a time to talk about how awful our lives have been or anything. Just, as the people who know you, or what would you like to, others to think about you and remember you by when you finally pass away? That's our topic tomorrow.
So be thinking about that, folks. And until then, have a beautiful and blessed day. See you real soon.